This is MJ. I love tokusatsu, and right now I want to talk about Shotaro Ishinomori. Actually, I want to talk about Bishoujo Kamen Poitrine. But the reason I'm talking about Bishoujo Kamen Poitrine is because I really want to talk about Shotaro Ishinomori and the effects of his works. And I was going to do that in a different way that I'll tell you about at the end. But for now, just settle on the fact that we're talking about Bishoujo Kamen Poitrine. Well, there we go. So, I'm going to throw out some facts real quick, and then I'll talk about episode 1, which is the only episode subbed so far that I know of. It was subbed by Mega Beast Empire. So, Bishoujo Kamen Poitrine is from the Toei Fushigi comedy series. It was created by Shotaro Ishinomori. The screenplay, according to the wiki, was done by Yoshio Urasawa. There were a couple producers, Jun Hikasa, Masayuki Nishimura, and Shigenori Takatera, which is an important name in tokusatsu. This show had a run of 52 episodes. It aired first episode January 7th, and the last episode was like I don't know if it was a New Year's episode or if it was just at the end of the year, but I think there was definitely something about New Year's or Christmas, and this episode kind of starts because Yuko goes to the shrine that she forgot to go to for New Year's on January 7th. So, that's pretty cool. Anyway, I have a little synopsis of the episode I'm going to read here. It's the episode and the series as a whole, actually. Yuko Murakami is an ordinary high school student who goes to a Shinto shrine to pray one day. She knocks down the bell in front of the shrine when she rings it and awakens Kami-sama, who bestows upon Yuko the power to become a fighter for justice, a superhero known as Bishoujo Kamen Poitrine. She transforms with her Orgel pendant, which apparently later becomes a mirror. She fights all kinds of villains who want to make life hard for children with the help of her magic bell saber. As in beautiful saber, not like a ringing a bell. Although she does start things off by ringing a bell, which is a homophone for the French word for beauty, bell. Kind of interesting. And let's see. Sorry, I thought I was going to cough there, and I didn't want to do that all into the camera. So I watched the episode. I took some images of it, and I'm going to talk over those. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to those right now. So this is a comedy series, but it's less that it's full of jokes, and it's more, well, I think it's more that it's lighthearted. And some of that lightheartedness is like in the OP, there's this mural or billboard with a image of Poitrine on it in a castle, and it actually, it's meta. It says starring Yuko Murakami, so it talks about her, and I found that to be kind of interesting. Another thing about the comedic element, and I guess let me just put it this way: I'm a bad measurer of humor or comedy, and I'm not really a fan of meta humor. It's growing on me. Maybe as I get older, I turn more absurdist, and therefore meta humor is more effective on me. But anyway, like I said, it's more lighthearted, but I kind of still take this show as very earnest, at least for this first episode. And it's interesting the dangers that Poitrine faces, at least in this first episode. There's this video game thief, this phantom thief, who goes around, and what he does is, it turns out, I'm actually not going to spoil it for you, but he sneaks into kids' houses, and he hits them with this crazy taser that looks like it could be homemade. It also looks like it could come from a video game, and he zaps them. Like I said, tases them, knocks them out, or inflicts great pain on them, and then while they're, stunned from that, he goes ahead and he steals their video games, and it's kind of weird, but I like it. That conceit is funny, and then the way she comes up against him, and how hard she goes on him, is a little bit funny, but I thought it was cool. I thought, oh, this is like a kid level threat. Oh, what's more terrible than anything? Some guy, some goon in a mask with a cattle prod, basically, comes along, he zaps you, and he steals your video games that you've been waiting for. And I thought that was a pretty neat idea. Something else that I really liked is that she, in order to stop him from chasing after a kid, she throws a feather. She's got a feather in her hat, or the brooch thing on the side of her hat. Anyway, she's able to pull that out and throw it, and then when it pans back to her, it's still in her hat, but it's also still in his gun. So it's one of those weird things. I guess it's magical, right? So it works. But I just love that gag. It very much reminded me of Tuxedo Mask, which I'll come back and talk about later. But I just thought that was really funny. that she did that. That kind of thing excites me. I love when Kurama does it. Tuxedo Mask doing it was cool too, and it was great to see her too. I really like her suit, which I'll talk more about later, but it's a really neat costume. It has so much flair and style. The fact that it's majority white with like a tiny amount of gold trim is cool. I like the red under part of the cape, the red mask. It's funny, she's got, these, I want to say they're a shade of green, like an emerald green, maybe, the gloves and her belt. But then she's got, all the like ruby, kind of ruby red highlights. They're very cool. Her beret, I guess it's black. I hadn't really thought about it that close. It's very effective in motion, but I didn't really think to break it down as I was looking at it. But I was really impressed with the way her suit looked, the way she fought, the effects that they used, how they made her seem magical. All that stuff was very good, very effective. The Fushigi, whatever it's called, comedy hour or comedy shows, they were tokusatsu-based humor shows. I guess Robo-chan, or Robocon, is that what it is? Robocon is like, a comedy tokusatsu that Ishinomori made, and then he came up with the idea for Poitrine. And I just listened to this biography of Stan Lee and all the arguments about him taking credit for being sole creator of stuff. I'm a little cautious about that now. So definitely Ishinomori co-created this lady, Poitrine. And I don't know, I think it's interesting. I think I said that the fight was interesting and cool. I liked it. It was really awesome. She went, pretty hardcore. She dropped a bunch of pipes on this, video game Phantom Thief, who, as far as I know, was just a normal guy who was, dastardly. And, you could seriously hurt somebody like that. That's not good. But anyway, it's funny. The stakes are low, but like the gravity given to everything is really high, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, that's kind of like tokusatsu in general. It's just kind of dialed up to the nth degree here, and I appreciated that. Oh, and I love it. The boy she saves, whose identity I won't reveal just yet. He asks for her signature. He opens up his shirt, his jacket, and I guess he's got a white sweater on. I thought it was a t-shirt, but apparently it's a sweater. And she pulls out her magical sword, her bell saber, her beautiful saber, and she puts a mark on him, and it's a cursive P. And at first it's a laser that they have laser, I don't know how they did the effect. They probably just drew it on, painted it on like rotoscoping kind of thing. Anyway, and then he ends up showing it to his friends later, and he's wearing this P for Poitrine shirt, which is hilarious. It's really cool. Reminding me of Zoro. She's like a magical swashbuckling adventurer person, and it's really funny because she's given her powers by God, by Kami-sama. He's either a god or the god, I'm not sure. It's a Shinto temple that she's at, and based on what my limited knowledge of Japanese culture and Shintoism, he could very well just be like a god. But it's really funny because he's like, oh yeah, I control peace and order and justice and things like that. And like, oh, I'm feeling tired. I want to go to the hot springs, so I'm going to go to a great hot springs in Italy. I'll be back. He magics himself a car. He magics himself a new fancy set of duds, and I think it's like a Ferrari or Lamborghini. I don't know. I'm not a car guy, guys. I'm a nerd. I'm not a car guy. Anyway. So he drives off to Italy, ostensibly, from Japan, which is an island, to, he goes from Japan to Italy in a car. Don't know how, I guess, God can do that, which is pretty funny. There are these cool little comedic elements in it, but overall, to me, just because they take everything so seriously, it feels like a very earnest treatment of a tokusatsu, hero or heroine, whatever, and she gets to be this awesome lady hero, and what's really interesting to me is that Kami-sama says something about like, when darkness filled the land, there was this great goddess who came along, Poitrine. I think he just called her Poitrine, or like the goddess Poitrine or something. And it's interesting because she's the beautiful masked Poitrine, as opposed to like the original Poitrine. But they show an image of this warrior lady in armor, which you should be seeing now. She's got like a big fireball or whatever in her right hand, and in her left hand she's holding a sword, not by the handle, but like by the base of the blade, which is interesting. And she has a skirt and a cape and armor with pointy shoulders, like really, really pointy shoulders, and like almost huge antennae like points, or almost like samurai like on the front of the caputo, like the big like things that look like antennae coming off her forehead. And I think Poitrine's pretty mask or beautiful mask Poitrine's outfit is supposed to be like a modern magical girl version of this lady's armor. And because I've been exposed to Kamen Rider for so long, I thought it'd be cool if Poitrine got a final form or powered up form, and it looked closer to this lady, more armory, or something. But I do kind of think it pulls in the colors, so that's kind of neat. But anyway, it's gosh, it was a real treat to watch. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me so much of Sailor Moon. In fact, it reminded me so much of Sailor Moon that I had to go and look up, and I watched this Getting the Robot video, and in that video they featured kind of a history of magical girls, and then I watched the second video on like kind of the history of magical girls, and they mentioned that I saw the date that this aired was throughout 1990, so 1990 to the end of 1990, so the dawn of 1991, and Sailor Moon came out, the manga, in sometime in 91, I believe, which is pretty interesting. Sailor Moon in the anime, at least that I saw, I think both in Crystal and in the Viz, or the original anime, she tries to like sailor kick her brother, and that's like a rider kick, right? Anyway, the Getting the Robot host lady basically insinuated that Takeuchi really liked Tokusatsu, and that she pulled a lot of things from that. And she also mentioned Cutie Honey, the animation, or I guess it would just be Cutie Honey at the time, which is I think by Go Nagai, and that had like it had a big focus on transformation sequence where the lady like becomes naked as she's transforming into her warrior form or whatever, which Poitrine does not do. Interestingly though, Poitrine is the French word for bosom, breast, not just chest. You know what? In honor of Ishinomori, who I heard was a pretty weird guy, I'm going to go ahead and dive into some weird religious things. So I study the Hebrew texts, not with my eyes, more with my ears. I listen to classes, and I have a growing familiarity with Hebrew. And one of the names for God, the God of the Hebrew Bible, is El Shaddai, which you would think just means Most High, but actually Shaddaiim, I think is how you say it. It is the plural of Shaddai, and that means breasts. So supposedly Shaddai or Shaddaiim is like this fertility god, or this aspect of God that has to do with mightiness and strength, but more so fertility. And it's interesting to me that you've got this lady whose beautiful mask, bosom or breasts, and she's this powerful protector, and she is like called out by this Shinto god as this amazing protector of right and peace and justice, and that this feminine goddess came along, or this goddess with these female powers came along and like tamed the darkness and like raised up the world from a state of chaos to a state of order. And I think that's really interesting, because I think that men and women are both important, I think that women are very important. They're like men and women are equally important in my opinion, because of my background and upbringing and whatnot, and in my family even more so. Like I love my wife, and she's a wonderful mother to our children, and she's first and foremost my wife, and I tell the kids that all the time, like, look, I really love your mom, and she's anyway. I probably go a little overboard with that, but I emphasize my relationship with her, and that's my main relationship in my life, is with my wife, at least on a personal, like a person-to-person level, me and my wife, and then my kids come next, and then maybe me third. But anyway, I just thought it was really interesting that there's that kind of connection between like this goddess, this power that like gives life and protects the innocent, and like yes, mothers have breasts to give, to suck to their children, but also like there's the concept of the mother bear, and the tiger mom, and all these different like aspects of women who are not only domestic housewives who raise children, or who get pregnant and have babies, but like they care for them, they nurture them, they enable them to grow. And to some degree there's a concept of self-sacrifice of the mother for the sake of the children, but also there's beyond that, there's like this warrior mode or archetype of woman and mother who exhibits power and doesn't give up her life, but who has the strength and the might to act and to conquer and to ward off evil that would threaten those who she loves and cares for. And that is an archetype of womanhood that exists, and it's not always held up. And of course, I'm not an expert in all cultures, but like there's Devorah in the Bible, there's Judith in the Bible, there's I'm blanking on one other woman specifically who I wanted. Yael, there's Yael in the Bible. Is that it's Yehudit, Yael, Judith, or Devorah. I can't remember the other one, but anyway, there's some women in the Bible who do some pretty great things, and like they're warrior type things. Even there's a king who's advancing with his army to this tower, and a woman from up top throws a rock and casts it down on him, and it kills him, or he's dying, and he tells one of his men, "You got to stab me. I don't want anybody to know that I was killed by a woman." And that's a pathetic, misogynistic concept, but like I think the Hebrew text retains the fact that that's a less than desirable trait that man is exhibiting. And anyway, so I say all that to go back to the fact that Ishinomori was a bit of an eccentric guy, and he was like a forward thinker. I would say he was a progressive person. He's definitely environmental in some of his works, like Kikaider and the Kamen Rider manga. Well, the Kikaider manga and the Kamen Rider manga for sure. He's got some environmentalist themes in them. And of course, I haven't seen enough of Poitrine to really judge, but it's interesting to me that he evokes this like maternal, like mother bear type of like powerful goddess who can like support life, sustain life by protecting it from death and destruction from evil forces. I think that's really cool. And the reason I'm talking about Poitrine right now is because I watched it. But the reason I watched it is because I was trying to watch the story or the life of Ishinomori, story of Ishinomori, life of Ishinomori. I can't remember what it's called right now, but I was trying to watch that, and I got an hour through it. I had like 35 minutes probably to go, and then my recording stopped. My download totally froze on me, and it made me really upset. And I was really enjoying this drama that told gave me a perspective on the life of Shotaro Ishinomori, whose works have meant so much to me. And I was really upset, and I thought about pushing this off, and I had been planning this for, I don't know, maybe about a month to make sure I had that downloaded on my other platform, podcast, YouTube channel, whatever, Swinging Through Comics. I went ahead and read the Skullman manga, and I did a review of that, which is going to be up the same day as this review of Poitrine. It was supposed to be going up the same day as me talking about the story of Ishinomori, but it couldn't because of that error, that problem. But in the story of Ishinomori, they show certain things about his life, about the struggles that he faced, about his older sister who encouraged him to work hard, and like she really gave him the strength. Like she was kind of like a Poitrine. And actually, as I was thinking about this after I watched the episode of Poitrine, I thought, I wonder if he was able to, and not that there's something deficient in men that they can't show female heroes, because there have been female heroes throughout literature and media and stuff for a really long time. But the way Poitrine was portrayed, and the way female heroines have been portrayed in Sailor Moon, I'm going to call out Alien, for Ripley, and different things like that. It's really interesting because there is a spectrum. They can be shown to be, they can be different, variations of women. And the way his sister was portrayed, she played a very domestic role, but she had a powerful effect on his life and the life of the artist there at the, I can't remember what it's called now. The Toei something, studios where they all, or whatever, where all the manga artists live together, or him in this particular set of 5 or so people who were featured in the movie. But anyway, it's interesting to me that after seeing the bit of the episode I saw, or the movie really I saw, because it showcased the hardships that he and the other mangaka went through, I was feeling kind of down about this, and I've got a bunch of other stuff going on in my life, and I was just trying to do this one thing to do something like extra and to do something cool, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I want what I do to matter too. And I think I've definitely been inspired by the fact that Ishinomori was this king or god of manga or whatever, that he has this world record that was awarded to him posthumously for drawing the most pages of manga of any mangaka, that like, man, I want to be like that. And I just want to make so much stuff. And after I was having these struggles and after I watched Poitrine and everything, it all kind of came full circle, and I thought like, oh, and then also I mentioned Stan Lee earlier, right? After finishing his biography, I thought like, oh, these people, like, they just faced challenges and they kept going and going and going, and that's something my wife and I have been kind of accepting lately, that like, man, life is always going to be hard, life is always going to be full of struggles for us, but we can have small victories, we can have daily victories, monthly victories, weekly victories, yearly victories, whatever. We can have these, instances of growth that we see happen, and we can, overcome these things, but there's always another danger to fight. And the fact that Poitrine says, as long as there is love, I'll fight on, and like, even till my life burns out, which is basically what she says, that was really impactful to me, and it's really inspiring, and it really, I don't know that came from Ishinomori directly, but those words wouldn't have been spoken from that character, and I wouldn't have seen it if it hadn't been for Ishinomori, and if it hadn't been for Yoshio Ishimori, which I believe is the correct way to say his sister's name, and what she contributed according to that movie. If that's not true, that's kind of sad, that's too bad, but it definitely makes for a great story that I and so many others across the world have been able to enjoy. Power Rangers, and Sailor Moon, and Super Sentai, and all these amazing things, because this one young woman in Japan, a long time ago, 60 years ago or so, inspired her little brother to keep going and to keep trying and to pursue his passions, and then to not give up and to try hard and to do the things that made him happy. And this was all sparked as kind of a thing where I wanted to give acknowledgement to Shotaro Ishinomori, but in the context, I guess it's also, a thanks to Yoshio Ishimori as well. And gosh, I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of rambling on here. I had a lot more that I wanted to say, but I can't really remember it now. I'm sitting in a car sweating so that you guys can have the best audio possible, and it's not pleasant. So I'm going to get out of here. As this should air on Friday, the 24th, Ishinomori's birthday is the 25th of January. He died the 28th of January. When those dates roll along, it will have been 22 years since he died and 82 years since he was born. So he only lived 60 years, and yet he was able to create so much awesome stuff. And who knows what he did in his life, but the things that he did in his work have been inspiring to people like me, and that's the legacy that lives on. And that's really impressive what you can do if you, I guess, follow your dreams and try to do what makes you happy. I guess that's what I wanted to say. Okay, with all that said, I'm going to wrap it up now. MJ Loves Toku can be found on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and mjmunoz.com. mjmunoz.com/mjlt. There you go. Check out mjmunoz.com for my other review series, another writer cast where I sample all the Heisei Kamen Riders from Kuga to Zio, King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, where I talk about Mobile Fighter G Gundam, Going Ultra, where I talk about various Ultraman things, SSSS.Gridman, as well as the Netflix Ultraman, and some other stuff. You can also check out Swing Through Comics, where I'm basically going through all of Marvel Comics in a semi-historical order, talking about early Captain America, early Fantastic Four, early Spider-Man, as the X-Men, Hulk, Ant-Man, all those other characters roll in. I'm going to be covering those as well, I think, as long as I like them. If I'm not going to stick with something that I don't like just for the sake of being a completionist. So anyway, I also have writing projects up there on mjmunoz.com. If you love what I do and want to support me, my Coffee and Redbubble accounts have you covered. Relevant links below. If you had a good time, like this, share this, leave a comment. Tell me if you minded my rambling about different stuff and how I tied it back into Tokusatsu and Poitrine. And tell me, is there I want to know if someone subbed the rest of Poitrine. I looked and it didn't look like it earlier. I'd love to watch it. I have at least one daughter of the female persuasion, and I'd like for them to be able to enjoy Poitrine, all 52 episodes of it, because it seemed like it was a pretty cool show. But, they can't watch it if there's no subs, right? Anyway, I already said that. So I'm going to close now, really. Subscribe and ring that bell to stay current on weekly 01 reviews. And remember, you don't have to shout henshin to be a hero.